name is Larry Cohn, and I'm co-founder of a co-working space in St. Louis called NextCore. Well, I think NextCore is changing the way that small business owners and entrepreneurs work. Traditionally, they've worked from home, or they've worked from some type of coffee place, or maybe they've worked in a small office that they have rented. And co-working, and particularly NextCore, is changing the way all that works. So what we're doing is providing the traditional resources of an office space, but we're creating the synergy, the energy, and the collaboration among other small business owners and other entrepreneurs so that the people can work together and build each other up and collaborate on ideas and network among themselves and bring a new level of style of work to the St. Louis community. Our work is guided by the philosophy that individuals are heightened by the blending and the sharing of ideas and energy. So the principles that we work together is the sum is greater than the individual. And I think that the experience at NextCore is about bringing people together and the sharing of ideas so that you can take something that's maybe not fully matured within you yet and have the ability to share that with other individuals who are going through similar things with you and take that to a higher level. And then what that does is that helps your confidence and helps your ability to get to the next level. So that's our take on it. So my background is an entrepreneur. I've always been involved in different businesses that I've created or joined, and it's been years and years. I can't remember the last time that I actually worked for someone else, but being an entrepreneur has its ups and downs. And my Sync story is that I went from living in a beautiful home in Southern California in the Hollywood Hills to being homeless in about a year. As a matter of fact, when I moved out of my house, Queen Latifah moved in. So that's the level that I was living at. And to go from there to pretty much poverty and homelessness, obviously it was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt for me, and disappointing friends and family and all the judgments that one has from going to one level in life to a different level in life. But what I learned from that was tremendous. And as I look back on that, that was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life, because we have a saying in the desert. Arizona is where I spent most of my adult life, and it says, when everything is stripped to its bare essence, one may truly find their soul. So when you're on top of something and you're rising above it, it's kind of easier to look down and to help people because you haven't maybe struggled their type of journey. You haven't walked in their shoes. So the ability to go from, not many people have had the opportunity to live in the style that I lived in LA and had the opportunity to also live out of their car for several months. So I've walked both sides, and what that did was that enriched me, and that gave me the ability to have really have both sets of ears on, so to speak. And what I learned from that is where you are is where you are. And where you are in your reality is actually past tense, meaning that whatever is going on today in your life, even though it's real and it's present, is the sum results of actions and thoughts and beliefs that led up to wherever you are today. So what I learned from being homeless, several things, but the one thing I want to share today was that I decided that my reality wasn't homelessness, it was just where I was at that time, but I was living a past tense of other things. So what that did was my physical presence was that of a homeless person. My mind was that of a wealthy person. And one of the best books I've ever read is called Think and Grow Rich. It's not called Work and Grow Rich. It's called Think and Grow Rich. So as soon as I shifted my perspective on where I was changed. And one of the greatest gifts I learned from living out of my car was that most of us, myself included, we live conditional lives, meaning we get a raise, that's good. Something happens with our kids or our spouse, that's good. We get fired, that's bad. So we live conditionally, and that's kind of a scary way to live. So what I learned by having the experience of being homeless is that you can actually live unconditionally, and how you live unconditionally is you choose the thoughts that you want to think in your mind, and as that book, Think and Grow Rich, so precisely illustrates, is once you change the thoughts in your mind and you start on a different emotional journey, the physical reality of that emotional journey eventually catches up to you. So I love where I've been. I'm proud of where I've been. It's been fantastic where I've been. And for anyone that's in a place where they don't want to be right now, maybe it's not as severe as living out of your car and homelessness, begin to think differently about where you are. And where you are will change, because where you are is only your opinion of where you are. Once you change the opinion of where you are changed. One of the funnest things I used to say to people was, oh, this is gonna be great. Meaning, when they said, like, how do you feel about being home? I'm like, this is gonna be great. And they would say, well, why do you say that? And I would say, well, I don't know. But you see, I can have two thoughts. I can lie in the shame and the guilt of the economic choices that led me into homelessness, or I can make a decision that something great is gonna come of it. I'm not psychic and I don't know which the outcome will be, but there is no downside to choosing the better feeling thought. And as I chose the better feeling thought, there were changes in me, there was movement in me. I began to get excited about the future, not scared or depressed about the future. So, and as I began to get excited about the future, there was a certain energy that was emitting from me that other people were attracted to. And then slowly, I rose out of that place. But it didn't start by someone giving me something. It started by myself changing my perspective about where I was. And as soon as I changed my perspective about where I was changed for me. Not for you, and maybe not for someone else, meaning they still looked at me as I was living out of my car, but I wasn't. I was just going through a journey. I live in St. Louis where the weather changes like every 5 minutes. It's cool one day, it's hot the next day, we don't know what it is. And that's all that any point of your life is. It's just a point in time. But the reason so many people continue to perpetuate that point in time, and the reason that so many people say, well, it's been going on for years, is because they're buying into where they are. And they're regurgitating the same reality of where they are, which then produces more of the same. So I have 3 strategies that worked for me in this transformational process. And AWE, I like to call it because they're awesome. So AWE, short for awesome. A, alignment trumps action. Now, I want to just touch on this for a moment because we live in an action-based society, and most people are praised for the action that they do. And it's about, like, do this, do this. Have you ever felt like the more you do, the more people are impressed with what you're doing? Oh my God, they're so busy, they're this and that. Well, action is fine and action is necessary, but action with alignment is like taking the vacuum cleaner and running it over your carpet and getting every square inch and making the track marks on, but you forgot to plug it in. It doesn't do very much good. You can go like that all day long, but it's not doing very much good unless it's plugged in. Tony Robbins says there is nothing more powerful than inspired action. And most people don't really understand what that means. And what that means is get lined up before you take the action. And my personal belief is the reason why there's so many self-help books and diet books out there are people are taking the action. They're running to do step 1, step 2, step 3, let me do this, but they're not lining up to it, which is why there's no staying power in that theory. So my first strategy in the reconstruction of Larry was to get in alignment first, to tune in, to tap in, to turn on to that inner part of me where I just felt like that was it. Like I could see it, touch it, feel it, smell it. Like it was so real within the side of me that there had to be a physical manifestation to correspond to it because it was so real within me. So alignment trumps strategy. The second aspect is where you are is where you are. And I talked about this a little bit earlier. But when you're in a place that you don't want to be, all you have to do to get to a different place, this is overly simple, but it's fantastic. All you have to do to get to a simple, different place is to change your opinion about where you are. Once you release the judgment and the shame and the guilt about where you are, and that you change your opinion about where you are, the where you are has changed. That, combining with what I shared with you before about your reality is never real. Your reality is past tense. If you think about that, everything you're living today is because of what went on in the past. So you want to sift and sort through the realities of today. Pick the ones you like and perpetuate or beat the drum of those philosophies. The ones that aren't serving you well, learn to release those and develop new strategies to create new realities. And the third one, and this applies to entrepreneurs and business owners, have no exit strategy. Because as soon as you have an exit strategy, you've allowed for that place of failure. Now, it's important perhaps to have an exit strategy in relationships, an exit strategy like if you're investing in a stock and other things in life. But when you're investing in your dream, and you're investing in your idea, and you're investing in yourself as an entrepreneur and a business owner, let go of the exit strategy. It was particularly hard for me as I bounced back from this last sinkhole journey that I was in, because when I started NextCore, in my mind, I had an exit strategy. And guess what? 6 months into NextCore, I was faced with, oh, you said you'd get out now. And what I said to myself was, that exit strategy, BS. I'm in this. I see where NextCore is going. I see what it can do for the community. And NextCore is me. This is my business, along with my partners and co-founders, Jim and Lauren Shelby. This was our business, our dream. Have no exit strategy. Yeah, so when I was in the place that I didn't want to be in, of economic decline and homelessness, sometimes to think differently about a place where you are, or to think positively about a place where you are, is too hard. Meaning that if you're broke, to say to yourself, I envision myself as wealthy and rich, oftentimes that doesn't work, because what you're really doing is you're really highlighting the gap between where you are, the brokenness, and the gap to where you are, the wealthy. I was also, during that time, my weight raised to 350 some pounds, and I made the decision that I wanted to lose weight. But when I said and looked in the mirror and said, I have a great body, I have a perfect body, I couldn't buy into that. So I was focusing on the gap. So I have always loved St. Louis since I was a little kid, and I've just been a Cardinal fan all my life. I love the Cardinals. And somehow I've managed to keep this hat around for decades and carry it with me. And whenever I wasn't feeling good about something, I went to the place of the St. Louis Cardinals, because the Cardinals always made me feel good. I could be rich, I could be poor, I could be fat, I could be thin. Whenever I thought of the Cardinals, that was my happy place. So if you're in a situation that's uncomfortable for you, don't try to mine the solution for that situation when you're in the depth of that situation. Instead, reverse it and go general. Meaning, don't approach that now. Go general to something like, if you like gardening, or you like the plants, or you like nature, or you like your cat or your dog, and for me it was St. Louis, the Cardinals. I just thought of that. So that eased me into a flow. And then when I eased into a place of neutralness, not negativity, neutral being, I was then more able to start moving up. But first you have to get to a place of non-resistance. And then when you're at the non-resistance place, you can go up. When you're in a place of resistance, it's you versus you. You're fighting yourself, so right there. My name is Larry Cohn, and I am a dreamer and a disruptor.